Have you ever wondered what happens after we die? For the ancient Egyptians, this wasn't just a question, it was the central focus of their entire civilization. They didn't see death as an ending, but as a gateway to an eternal adventure. So, grab your torches, we're about to journey deep into the heart of the Egyptian underworld. To understand their view on the afterlife, we first need to understand what they believed a person was made of. It was much more than just a body. They believed each person had several spiritual parts. There was the Ka, your life force, like a spiritual twin that needed nourishment even after death. Then there was the Ba, which was your unique personality, often depicted as a human-headed bird that could travel between the world of the living and the dead. Finally, there was the Ak, the transfigured spirit, the ultimate goal for every soul, a shining, immortal being living among the gods. For the Egyptians, true eternal life was only possible if all these parts, the body, the Ka, the Ba, and the Ak, could be reunited. This brings us to one of the most iconic practices of ancient Egypt, mummification. Why go to all that trouble? Because the Ba, your personality bird, needed a home to return to each night. Your physical body had to be preserved and recognizable. Without a body, the soul would be lost and wander aimlessly, denied its chance at eternity. So, mummification wasn't just a creepy ritual, it was a necessary act of love and faith, ensuring the deceased had a vessel for their spirit. Priests would meticulously remove the internal organs, except for the heart, which they believed was the seat of intelligence and emotion. The body was then dried out with a special salt called natron for over a month before being carefully wrapped in hundreds of yards of linen bandages. Amulets and magical charms were placed between the layers to provide protection on the journey through the underworld. It was a long and expensive process, a true investment in immortality. Once the body was secured in its tomb, the real journey began for the soul. This journey was fraught with danger, filled with terrifying demons and challenging obstacles. To help the deceased navigate this treacherous path, they were buried with a guidebook, the Book of the Dead. This wasn't a single book, but a collection of spells and incantations written on papyrus scrolls. These spells were like cheat codes for the afterlife, designed to help the soul overcome monsters, answer tricky riddles posed by divine gatekeepers, and ultimately, reach the final judgment. One spell might allow you to turn into a crocodile to navigate a dangerous river, while another would give you the words to pacify a fiery serpent. Without these spells, the soul was as good as lost. And all this led to the single most important moment in a person's afterlife, the weighing of the heart. Imagine standing in the magnificent Hall of Two Truths, before the great god Osiris, king of the underworld. With him are 42 divine judges, each representing a different sin. In the center of the hall stands a giant golden scale. On one side, your heart is placed. On the other, a single, pure white feather. This is the feather of Nat, the goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic order. This was the final exam. The deceased would then have to make a negative confession, declaring to the judges all the bad things they didn't do in life. I have not stolen. I have not lied. I have not caused anyone pain. As they spoke, the scale would react. If the person had lived a good, balanced life, their heart would be light, free from the weight of sin. It would balance perfectly with the feather. If it did, the god Thoth, the scribe of the gods, would record the result. And Osiris would welcome them into the eternal paradise. But if the heart was heavy with misdeeds, it would tip the scales. And waiting beside the scale was a terrifying creature named Amit, the devourer of the dead. With the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus, Amit would devour the heavy heart, and the soul would cease to exist forever. This was the second death, the ultimate end, and the Egyptians' greatest fear. It wasn't about eternal punishment, but complete and total oblivion. For those who passed the test, the reward was beyond imagination. They were granted entry into the field of reeds, or Aru in Egyptian. This was their version of heaven. It was a perfect, idealized reflection of the life they knew along the Nile. The sun always shone, the crops were always bountiful, and there was no sickness, no sadness, and no death. Here, The deceased would reunite with their loved ones who had passed before them. They could spend eternity farming, feasting, and enjoying the simple pleasures of life, but without any of the hardship. To ensure they were comfortable, their tombs were filled with everything they could possibly need: food, drink, furniture, tools, games, and even small statues called shabtas. These shabtas were magical servants who would come to life in the afterlife to do any work required of the deceased, leaving them free to relax and enjoy their eternal bliss. The pyramids and lavish tombs weren't just monuments to a king's ego. They were fully functional eternal homes. Stocked for an endless vacation, this profound belief system shaped every aspect of Egyptian life. Their art, their architecture, their social structure, and their daily rituals were all geared towards preparing for this journey. The pharaohs built massive pyramids not just as tombs, but as resurrection machines. Stairways to the heavens, the common people saved their entire lives to afford a proper burial land. A copy of the Book of the Dead. They lived their lives according to the principles of truth, order, and justice, not just because it was the right thing to do, but because their very eternity depended on it. This wasn't a religion just for Sundays, it was a 24/7 commitment to ensuring a happy afterlife. The Egyptian concept of the afterlife shows us a civilization deeply concerned with morality and cosmic justice. They believed that your actions on earth had eternal consequences. This wasn't about blind faith, it was about living a life of balance and integrity. The idea that you would be held accountable for your deeds was a powerful motivator for good behavior. In a way, their elaborate beliefs were a sophisticated system for maintaining social order and encouraging people to be their best selves. They yearned for a world where justice prevailed and where life, in its most perfect form, could continue forever. It's a powerful and hopeful vision of what lies beyond, one that continues to fascinate us thousands of years later. So the next time you see a mummy in a museum or a picture of the Great Pyramids, remember what it all stood for. It wasn't about an obsession with death, but a profound celebration of life and a deeply held belief in its eternal continuation. It was a testament to the human desire for justice, order, and the hope that our existence has meaning beyond our time on this earth. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the ancient Egyptian afterlife. If you found this fascinating, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more adventures into history. Let me know in the comments what ancient civilization you'd like to explore next. See you in the next one.